You think to yourself, I sort of view this in a way as a mistake, although I shouldn't, and to try and portray it to somebody else as a mistake is just the wrong thing to do. You know, obviously I wouldn't advise people to do it, but it's one of these things that whereby if you say it's a mistake, you've got to accept that the whole thing's a mistake. My name is Mike, I'm 27 years old, lived in Aberdeen all my life, sold all sorts of different things, TVs, sofas, cameras, basically everything you could sell in those times, and that's really worked. There's nothing of no distinctive achievements since I left the school and started working. On a personal level, I've got a 7-year-old son. To be able to take your son somewhere and do something, whether it be Satrosphere at about £15 to get in, so he can watch a sheep poop, just to see him happy is worth it. The time that I have with him, we just have a great time, play the PlayStation and stuff like that. We seem to like the same things, we both laugh at farts, and it just really goes quite well. It was difficult at the time because we broke up just a week before he was born, which for the main part was her choice, but I mean, I was just a boy myself then. I didn't know what to do, how to deal with it, so we had gotten a flat together and things like that, and decorated the flat and put furniture in it and all that kind of thing, but then just about a week before he was born, we had a big falling out, and that was that. I think at the time mainly I tried to block it out and get away from it, did a ridiculous amount of drinking and spending money on stupid things that I shouldn't have, and just tried to block it all out from my mind, knowing that it was you know, happening so close by. I mean, he's in Aberdeen, has been the whole time, but these sort of things, I mean, I find my way of dealing with things is to try and avoid them as opposed to confront them, and I ignored it. I was blind to all and tried not to think too much about it, although quite often when I was myself, all I was doing was thinking about it, but at the time I didn't see a solution to the problem. I didn't feel that I could talk to her, and I didn't feel that there would ever be a resolution to the situation. I thought I'd probably be one of these people that have somebody turn up at their door in 16 years time and say, "Hello, I'm your son, you prick." I suppose the saddest thing about it all is inbuilt in the oblivion becomes a bit of resentment towards this person that effectively I've brought into the world, and then not discarded, but I mean, that's the way that it must seem to most people, the way that these things happen. And for myself, I know, having been through it, it was absolutely nothing like that, and it was an experience I never want to go through again. I mean, I only really started to see him when he was about 4 and a half, and up until that point he'd been fine. And one of the worst things about it is when you've got this kid and you've not really seen them or had much to do with them, and it's their inbuilt sort of intuition just to call you by your name, and having your son come up to you when you're sort of, well, I would have been 24 and he was 4, and call you Mike, you know, what we're going to do today, Mike. Just that's one of the worst things. I mean, he calls me dad now, but that took a long time for me to build a relationship with him. I suppose probably in the future, when he's a teenager, it'll come back to me at some point that I wasn't there, so this happened, and I'm a bad person, and I'll just have to deal with that when it comes up to the best of my abilities. I mean, there was about 6 months to a year where I would arrive after school one day and would sit and watch SpongeBob or whatever and not really talk to each other about anything. I'd maybe help him with his homework and stuff like that, probably too much. And then from there, I had to build this bond, and I suppose the first time that I really spent time with him was when I was with my last girlfriend, well, my fiance, who me and her have now split up, but she pushed quite a lot for me, you know, to take him out on his own and that kind of thing, because I didn't really feel comfortable with it initially, because to this day I still don't feel ready to be a father, and something that is quite difficult to come to terms with is, you know, what do I do if I've got my son somewhere and he starts behaving like a complete animal? How do you deal with that? I think it's one of these things that, you know, you need to have authority very early on. If you don't, then it can be easy for them to be led astray and behave badly in your company, almost, I suppose, as a way of punishing me for not being there. I think it's also very difficult to try and relate to your son that don't make the mistakes I made, but you aren't a mistake. You know, it's completely contradictory. For me to try and say to him, you don't want to have kids young, you don't want to have this kind of thing, is basically me saying that he was unwanted and all this kind of thing. So it'll be very difficult to try and do anything other than just let him take his own path and see where he ends up. You know, support him through the hard times the same as my dad did for me, and hopefully things will come all right for him. I love Alex to bits. He is a brilliant kid, so it's not that I would change that. If I had my life over again, I'd make the same mistakes again, because it's, you know, when things are right, it's one of the best feelings in the world. One particular example stands out, which was going back to school after the Christmas holidays, and they were asked to write a story about their favourite thing, and he wrote a story about the favourite thing he'd done, going sledging with his dad. And I remember standing in the class reading it and crying, and I just thought, well, I kind of thought to myself, don't be such a fanny, it's only a story. But then it was, you know, one of these things, a real, probably a defining father-son moment for me.